lot of room. They have a lot of room.
Action replays in magnified fortune. Pyramidia. When they gaze upon the sunlights.
They have a lot of room.
I don't read, obviously.
Did you hear that? Yeah. It's a dicker. It's a dicker. To pee with.
All right, check. We're getting close.
And then I heard that. I kept hearing that.
Sorry about that. I don't know what happened. Loopy, crazy thing. Almost there, 1 second. Okay, we're up on Substack. And now we're live on Instagram. Okay, now we're up. There we go. Now that's what's happening. Okay, let's jump straight in. Oh, my upper. That's a little better. Yeah, I'm a little shiny, but you know that's going to happen when you're this kind of virile. I almost it's just the amount of. I don't know. I just got some Mediterranean blood or something. Actually, we just came back from Topgolf with my kid because he wanted to do that. He's here on his spring break. And we went yesterday and we weren't able to get a place because we did a walk-in. So we made a reservation today like decent human beings. And we were Topgolfing all morning for lunch. And it was a lovely time. It was me and my mom and my kid all pretending to golf. It was a good time. And I'm glad you like the shirt. I got this in DC the last time I was there. Unfortunately, wasn't for the Harris inauguration. And I'm not saying that on my behalf or on all the people who voted for her. I'm saying that on behalf of all the people who are now going, the, the fuck. There's a lot of that going around, kids. And it's not going to change. It's not, again, Trump's not going to get smarter. This isn't going to get more popular. It's not going to work out. And this isn't me being hopeful about it. This is the same shit we were saying last year. We're like, if he does this, it's going to lead to this, which is bad. And we weren't saying it just to dunk on this asshole or his followers. It's just true. The man is a moron. By the way, I don't know how loud I can be. You remember how Murphy was trapped in the closet, specifically, technically, and legitimately, not emotionally or psychologically or psychosexually. He's in there right now, and Molly's in there with him. So at some point, if I get too loud, I opened it I was like, I should probably check the closet before I shut it to make sure that there's not a cat trapped in there, interferes with the show again. And there's two sets of eyes just looking out. And I was like, oh, all right. Well, I guess you guys are cool then. I'll just tell you what, I'll just leave the door slightly ajar. And if you need to go, maybe you can. So not only is the show at the mercy of my exhausted vocal cords, but also possibly two cats who might try to beat feet in the middle of it. And I feel like I have a responsibility to like shut the outer door because this might be our one opportunity to get Molly. She doesn't hold well. She's one of those, she was a feral and she went through a lot. She's the one who lost her tail. So God knows what happened to her. She insists on me petting her before she goes to sleep every night, which is a lovely thing. And she gets mad when I go out of town, but she doesn't like to be picked up. Suddenly I'm a stranger when that happens. It's like, who are you? That kind of thing. You're like, I don't know. I forget sometimes you have a tiny little lizard brain. Yeah. So well, let's start here. I like a lot of people. Unlike a lot of people, I like to go to the source on a lot of my coverage. And it's one of the reasons why we will see, a recurring theme in some situations where you can see where an idiot talking point enters the right-wing thought stream and makes its way up. And it's almost like a testing ground. So that's why we'll see, like on the show, Bannon doesn't float things. Bannon is operating on a well-tested storyline most of the time. And so it's only when he has guests on that there's something incendiary or stupid to look at, because everything else about him is painfully predictable and ridiculous and smelly. I feel like you could smell the TV when he's on it. Anyways, then there are, but like Glenn Beck or some of these others, that's where you could tell somebody sent a memo and went, hey, can you start people like pretending this is what's happening instead of reality? Can you enter this like on an IV where they give somebody a push of a medication and it's not the IV itself, but it's got that little junction box in it, and they put the syringe in and they just give it they give them a, like if you get one of those Revive IVs, that's where you get your vitamin C, or now I'm doing collagen. When I do this, it's really good for your face and your skin and all these kind of, and you might taste Flintstone vitamins when I do this. Some people say they taste Flintstone vitamins when we get it, which is, by the way, a true thing. I've actually had that happen. It wasn't collagen, it was something else. I can't remember what they added to it, but they're like, you might have the flavor of Flintstone vitamins in your mouth. And I'm like, okay, wizard, do your worst. I will be burning you at the stake as soon as you tether me from this needle. Yeah, it's called an IV push. That's exactly right. Which is, I think, what I called it. Chat room. Oh, by the way, hi, chat room. There are certain people in the world of right-wing media that are the IV push. And so that's why I address them on the regular. Then there are other situations where even the IV push is not working. Even the bullshit story that they are trying to shuffle around. Patrick, peanut butter dickhead, he's slowly becoming an Ivy push. But it's largely by the guests that he has on. Somebody suggests a guest to him, and then he has them on, and they do the Ivy push live on the air. But he's too thick for them to deliver it to him directly the way they do Beck or somebody else like that. And then, but the important thing is, then there's people who are like, none of this shit is working. Oh, level 2 hype train. It must be for my dulcet tones and my Lauren Bacall like voice right now, my sultry overtones. Oh, the Hegseth thing. Yeah, I'll show you that. God damn, I wish I had my filter working right now. I can't do her right now. God, it's so annoying. I need to get that. I need a workaround. We'll figure it out. Anyways, but yeah, Peanut Butter Dickhead charges $48,000 for a 30-minute video call. Yeah, I don't think he has any takers. Unless it's like how to launder money. All right. And that's the way they do it. Yeah, no, they paid me for this advice. And then what'd you do with the money? I put all of it minus a 5% fee in a unmarked account in the Caymans. How many times do you do that? We do like 8 calls a day. Huh. And is that your account? Well, it's a business account. It goes through a couple of LLCs and it ends up in the Bank of Cyprus. Yeah. So, anyways, like, subscribe, give a thumbs up, support the show. It's Hal Sparks Mega Worldwide. I'm Hal Sparks, and I will be Hal Sparksing the rest of the evening. And what we will do today, instead of going, to the sort of the satellite dweebery of the world, we will go straight to the center of dweebery. Ladies and gentlemen, oh, wait, but there's a special, there's a special treat before we do that. I want to play something for you. Hold on. Now, I might get a copyright strike by using my own footage. This is CBS News 24/7 posted this footage. I want to play something from it for you for a second. Fair use. I shot this. Storyful. Anyways, listen to the voices on it.
And then I heard that. I kept hearing that. Here comes the fire department.
That's my mom. Congratulations, Mom. You made CBS Evening News. That's my mom, who's is the greatest thing about my mom when these things are happening is she is an excellent narrator for what you're seeing. Yes, that is exactly what's happening. And she's just basically like, yep, that is indeed a fire truck. Yep. It must be a Southern thing. But my mom, like all the footage that I gave them, my mom is basically sorry. She just narrates everything. We have a place for mom joke in the house because that ad came up. And so we were watching it and I made a joke about it when it was on TV. And now every time my mom forgets something, drops something, or asks what we're having for dinner, we pretend we didn't already tell her and go, "Oh, a place for mom," And one of the other things that in our family that my grandfather used to do is we were like, you could tell he was entering primary dementia when he would start reading street signs. Gasoline $1.85. Like he would do that. Anybody got an older relative or something who just reads apropos of nothing, reads large signs? Custom bumpers, $3,000. That's a lot of money. That's right. Like just randomly. Okay. So every time she starts doing that, we do a place for mom. So much so that my son started reading some of the signs because one of them in Vegas was really funny, and then we start pretending he has the affliction, and then yeah, and it's become a thing. So when I played back the video for her, that she went, "Oh dear, a place for mom." Okay, now enough of a story. Now on to the show. It's House Parks Mega Worldwide. I should just be doing like straight into the show and saving my voice. But this is long, by the way. This is like they cut it in 2 pieces, so we might only do one half of it or give up on it if it's just stupid. Because I don't know if I can handle the voices and the like. The, I don't know what's worse, the faux machismo or the faux mensa bullshit, right? Um, we're all your mom. Yeah, everybody in the everybody in the chat room is like, I do that. That's something I do. Yeah, that's right. So, anyways, let's get started. We got to come on. I do want to do one thing though. Let's see. Prop out window projector pan. No, sorry. Escape. Get out of here. I need this. Oh, I've got it. That's why. Escape. Turn this to green down like this, and I want to grab a. Wee. Okay, maybe this will work. Window projector panel. There we go. So now I can see what I'm seeing, like I see it up here. There we go. All right. Now, Elon Musk joins and by the way, I don't know what Ted Cruz's thing, I want to say it was, didn't he have another name for this stupid talk show that he did with this guy, Ben Ferguson? But they're doing this from the White House because Elon Musk lives there, just for the record. So here we go. This is Elon Musk joins verdict, and I don't know, maybe they'll play my footage again. No, this is before, I think, that the interviews. This is 3 days ago. This is the day of the footage I shot. Oh, get on.
Today is a really fun day, Senator, because we have a special guest and we're in a special.
By the way, Senator is how he says senator. Senator Cruz. Senator. He's sooner, I'm later.
Place. I'm going to let you do the rest of the intro.
Well, we're in the White House right now, and we're here with my friend.
No, I think white now works. Yeah, he started to say white now.
Elon Musk, who really has not been doing much of anything, has not made any news, and nobody has noticed.
You gotta love you some like low res verbal irony.
Yeah,
I'm quiet. I'm quiet compared to the. I'm sorry. I will turn it up a little bit. How about that?
Impact. Welcome, Elon.
Thank you.
Holy crap.
Yes, wow.
Let me just say.
Never a dull moment.
Never a dull moment. The first 50 days the president has spent in office, over the top. And the first 50 days you've spent, I don't think there's ever been anyone to have an impact the way you have at the beginning.
Yeah. Way to use non-qualified adjectives in that situation. Well, it's been a time. You've certainly done a thing. I mean, I'm not quite comfortable putting a good or bad on the front of it, not because it is good, but because I can't say bad. And it's been, man, what a 50 days.
Let me start.
Uh-huh. By the way, he looks well rested and not high at all.
Start with a question you know a lot about. Which was worse, the mess you found at Twitter or the mess you found in the federal government?
Well, it's hard
to compete with the federal government because of,
to
right?
compete with the federal government.
What surprised you about the federal government? I assume you came in and assumed it was bad. Is it worse?
Yes, and that's the important thing. I think in first principles, if I'm not that familiar with them as as someone who's only named after a computer, in first principles, I think the first of all the first principles of the many first principles is like 1,000 first principles, and the first of the first principles is always assume that anything your buddy doesn't like, you don't like either, and that means it's bad. Also, anything you don't like because it has based on a difference of opinion is materially less effective if you don't like it. It's not just bad because you don't like it and you don't like where it's going. It doesn't work also, even if it works. First principles, baby.
Than you expected?
It is worse than I expected, but on the plus side, that means there's more opportunity for improvement. So,
Fuck does that mean? On the plus side, there's more room for improvement? Why would that be the plus side? It would just mean there would be more work to do. I mean, this is just dumb. Okay, let me just cut to the chase on this. This is just them shitting on the federal government. One who works in it and one who works for it, and his businesses would only exist if, but for the money he gets from the federal government. So fuck off.
if you look on the bright side, there's actually a lot of opportunity for improvement in federal government expenditures because it's so bad. If it was a well-run ship, it would be very difficult to improve.
So,
so now it's like if people say, well, how do you figure out how to save money in the federal government? Well, it's like being in a room where the walls, the roof, and the floor are all targets. So you shoot in any direction.
Yeah, and you're
you
gonna
can't
win.
miss.
So firing tens of thousands of veterans and then having to rehire them, firing people who are responsible for our nuclear arsenal and having to rehire them, firing people who are air traffic controllers and having to rehire them. That would be, you can't miss. I would like to say that, didn't he say in that stupid meeting they're not going to bat 1,000 or they're not going to make mistakes? Well, apparently his analogy what he's making with these two dickheads over here is that either it's just blindly ignorant talk, which it could be both, or this is a feature, not a bug. They're going to joke about how shitty the federal government is. And again, both of these guys work in it, and this guy wouldn't have a company without it.
Wow.
Again, I'm sure you would agree.
I would like to say, by the way, my show, this show, also any show I've ever done, also any live stand-up show I've ever done, also any music show I've ever done, every play I've ever done, never required or received a federal loan guarantee or material support from the federal government in any way, shape, or form. Just ever. So unlike Elon Musk, my work has always had to stand on its own. Also, at no point was I able to say it in my 20s, take the money that my parents had made from blood emeralds and throw it around into the new tech arena because Al Gore had let loose the internet during the Clinton administration, and basically ride a new wave of technology because I had a lot of money that could cushion any mistakes I made between fuck around and find out. And I feel like, and I don't want to put this on any of you guys, but I feel like every single person watching this, unless Elon Musk finds this, which is entirely possible, in which case God damn it, all of you can relate to that. Maybe there's some government employees, but at least you didn't pretend you don't work for the federal government. You don't pretend that your paycheck doesn't come from the federal government, or shit on the idea of the existence of a functioning federal government if you're a federal employee who is getting up every day and doing a decent job. Just throwing that out there. For me, my work has always had to stand on its own. From Peeks Mill, Kentucky to where I am now, I just had to fucking bootstrap it. And there was never a point where blood emeralds or $800 million loan guarantee inflated my company's worth far enough for me to sneak money from it and invest it in another secondary company, and then and have enough money in my company to take out a loan and pay myself a salary from that loan, just live off that loan and write it off as a liability so I never have to pay income taxes. I haven't done that either. I just want to clarify because, and I think just so you know who I am and I know who you are and we know who he isn't. So, anyways, back to him being a genius.
So a lot of folks have talked about like
You can't miss. You can't miss. Yeah, just go any direction.
By the way, that's how he's acting. Like a kid who's just found his dad's gun.
a lot of the crazy expenditures, things like $2 million for sex change surgeries in Guatemala,
An essential.
transgendered mice and
Transgenic mice.
Sesame Street in Iraq. A lot of that has gotten attention.
Yeah, you'd think if there were trillions of dollars to go after and you can't miss and every wall is a target, you wouldn't even have time to mention the same shit over and over again that, by the way, Rand Paul has been talking about for a fucking decade.
But some of the stuff you've told me about, tell us.
Oh, by the way, somebody in the chat just said, cue the transphobia. I would like to say for the record, Elon Musk, Ted Cruz, and whoever this dickhead is are not transphobes. They're not transphobic, okay? Let me be really clear. These three men are not transphobic. They're bigots. They don't have an abject fear of trans people that makes them act against what their normal psychology would tell them to do in a regular social environment, to the point where they leap on a chair like they have arachnophobia and a spider walks across the ground. They're not transphobes. They're bigots. Can we clarify that? They're assholes. They lack normal human compassion and understanding. They're not even xenophobic. They're pricks. Stop it. Stop calling these people transphobes. Don't call them transphobic. Okay? I really want to clarify that. That's super important. I'm not letting these assholes get off the hook, because a phobia is a real medical condition. If you have a phobia, you have a mental disorder that affects your psychology in a way that you cannot control, and therefore you are not responsible for it. An agoraphobic is not bigoted against crowds. You understand what I'm saying? An agoraphobic has a real inherent fear of going outside and being around a lot of people because anything could happen, and their mind races and they have anxiety and they sweat, and so they stay at home and all that. That's a real fucking thing. Okay? These people are not transphobes. They're bigots. And in many cases, I would argue that if anything, their anti-trans and anti-gay language is founded in misogyny. Because if you think women are less than you, any man who would want to act like and be with a man as a woman would, or dress and appear as a woman, must be less than and weak, and just like the women that you decry. What could be worse than being like a woman? You see what I'm saying? That's how they think about it. They're fucking bigots. Stop. They can be both. No, they can't. No, they are not transphobes. They're not afraid. They're gross. They're not irked or icked by it. I would argue Nancy Mace might be a transphobe. She might genuinely have a phobia. And as a as a rape victim, she might have gotten it from that trauma. It doesn't mean that I agree with what she's trying to do legally. I don't agree with her response, but people who are phobic don't have logical responses. I think she might qualify genuinely based on an individual experience. But that's not what the fuck these guys are doing. These guys are just being douchebags. And I would argue also defensive douchebags. Because by the way, the shirt that I'm wearing, if I might add, is sort of meant, it was sold in a gift shop. Hold on, chat room. This shirt is sold in a gift shop in DC. And they had it at the DNC as well. And I like, it's meant to be like a woman's shirt in many ways. It's meant to be about like created equal. All people are created equal. And so it's this it's meant for, I think, for them, like they thought women would wear this shirt to remind everybody that women are created equal to men and and dealing, especially around the abortion issue that was, actually in the news and actually paid attention to at the time. And I'm wearing it as an equalizer in sort of the other direction, if that makes any sense. Yes, Hal Cross stress is confirmed. That's true. So I feel like that is my way of saying damn right. You know what I'm saying? So these guys fear the idea of measured equality by anybody because they all know they're less than. And listen to Ted Cruz's voice and his fucking just dweeby nature. And you can tell this is all about compensation for these dickheads.
Us about computer licenses and government agencies.
Yeah. So most of what Doge is finding, you don't need to be Sherlock Holmes. Okay, it's very obvious, basic stuff. So in every government department, I say every because we've not yet found a single exception. There are far too many software licenses and media subscriptions, meaning many more software licenses and media subscriptions than there are humans in the department.
Like you were saying, like an agency with 15,000 people might have 30,000 licenses.
Yes.
and even of the...
Mm-hmm. Now, could be a couple things. Could be that they bought a bulk of them and they got a deal on those licenses because the company can offer a deal to the government where, let's say you need 20,000 licenses and for the software. And if you buy 30,000, this is the corporate thing that they offer, that these companies offer to other companies, that if you buy 30,000, you get a break on the price. If you get 50,000, you get a break on the price. And you can also use it across the board. And there is a zero licensing aspect. There's almost like Adobe has a free use policy and a paid policy. Like if you're going to make professional stuff and if you use stock footage or any of their stuff, you have to have a special license to use those things. Again, the government is not immune to that, but it's not under the same licensing requirements as a private company. So it may be that you get 50,000 licenses for a bulk of licenses that you can use and hand out to people. And if people need to come on temporarily as workers, you would give them that for the time being. Let's say it's FEMA, for example, and then you give it out during times. You go, here's a license for you. You need to make all these things in the paper about how to that they put in every week to tell you how to make sure you've got all your documents in order to get your housing for the next 6 months. And it's an ongoing thing, but it only ends, after a year and a half, it ends. And then they rescind it and they hang on to it. And that license is handed out to the next person. Okay. So they have the regular ones who use it all the time and the extension ones, just saying. And so they buy a bulk of them. And that's how the company works with private companies. So the federal government has to do that too.
15,000 employees, a good chunk of them hadn't used the license, had never logged on or used the application.
Yes. We found entire situations of software licenses or media subscriptions where there were zero logins.
Wow.
So it had that.
And yet we were paying for it.
Yes, so the government was paying.
Okay. Also, zero logins at their primary terminal, zero logins on their private devices, or zero logins on their mobile devices, or all of the above, or none? Just saying.
For thousands of licenses of
This is all trust me, bro.
software or media subscriptions, and no one had ever logged in even once.
Or like credit cards. You found the same thing with government credit cards.
We found that there are twice as many credit cards as there are humans.
Could be.
That's just
And I still
insane.
don't have a good explanation for why this.
I have because of government oversight, different payment schedules have to do with things that are done in the regular work of the office and expensed work outside. So the idea being is that they have a credit card that they can use for purchases or things that they have to do in regard to the office. Fucking keeping the coffee filters stocked or what have you. They have those kind, and then they have the kind that you use when you're traveling. You have split accounts. You have a firewall between departments, but an overlap in what they do because of Department of Homeland Security, for example. And so you'd have things that would go on, one particular budgetary outlay and another particular budgetary outlay, but the same department is dealt with by two different committees, for example. And the committees have passed a law saying you have to, if you're using these items for this stuff, you have to let us know. And if you're buying these kind of items. So the easiest way is they just use them for separate things. I mean, you could maybe argue that there's a more efficient way of doing it. I don't quite know if there is, depending on what use case we're talking about. But pretending you don't know why that would ever happen is a lie.
Is the case. And these are 10,000.
And Turd Ferguson is the third guy. Is that what you guys are saying? Yeah. Turd Cruz, Turd Ferguson, and Elon Felon Monk.
$1,000 limit cards. So it's a lot of money.
Is it?
No, it isn't. No, it isn't. Credit card isn't money. Credit card is a holding space for purchases that money will pay for later. But if you have a card with no balance on it, there's no money involved at all.
Incompetence that you're finding, or is this like the biggest money laundering scheme in the history of the world?
Also, I'm going to go with, he's going to say money laundering because it makes it sound boss or something. But do you notice the little Doge sign on the mantle? Like some fuckwad just leaned it up against the wall next to Ted Cruz's head. And they centered it between two of these, not compensating for where the camera is, because it's just, and it's not even centered on this thing. But hey, what do I know? They're in a room where everything's a target.
That you're finding.
Look, I think it's mostly, if you say, look, what's the waste to fraud ratio?
Yeah.
In my opinion, it's like 80% waste, 20% fraud. But you do have these sort of gray areas.
Yeah.
So,
Example
would be, so we saw a lot of payments going out of Treasury that had no payment code and no explanation for the payment. And then we'd try to figure out what that payment is, and we'd see that, okay, that contract was supposed to be shut off, but someone forgot to shut off that contract, and so the company kept getting money.
Wow.
No, you didn't. Name them directly. If the contract ended and they stopped getting work and they were continuing to cash the check, that is fraud. That's not waste. That's fraud. That's garbage. Horse shit. Anybody who does that has been committing a crime the entire time they did it. If you get a check, that's wire fraud. Jesus Christ. Watch the Firm, motherfucker. Watch The Untouchables. There's 3 fucking crimes in getting a check you shouldn't be getting from the federal government after a contract is ended, cashing that check, and then, and then not reporting it, I guess. So let me get this straight. These guys have been paying taxes on a government contract payment that they've been getting, even though they haven't been doing the work. Never happened. Garbage. Name the company. This isn't something for Doge. This is something for Pam Bondi. But they have one problem. It's a lie.
Now, is that waste or fraud?
Yeah, both.
It's no. This is a waste of time, and you're a fraud. How about that? But that's where it's both. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
I mean,
But
both.
it's,
Yeah,
it's sort of
if
a
you
gray
know you're
area
getting something
because
you're not supposed to get.
you're not supposed to get it, but the government sent it to you, and nobody from the government asked for it back. Or take, for example, the $1.9 billion given to Stacey Abrams,
Yeah.
a fake NGO.
Utter insanity.
Explain that. Forget
No, that's not the same. I mean, you could disagree with it if you want to, but they didn't finish a contract, and that money came after the contract was over.
don't know the
That's
story.
That's corrupt.
Yeah.
That's just corrupt, I think. That's paying off cronies at that point.
1,000%.
Yeah, yeah. And by the way, she knew. Like when you get $2 billion, you don't miss that.
Yeah.
That's
It's not
not
an accident.
that's not.
Right. So this is not germane to the conversation you're talking about that you're saying happens 80% of the fucking time. You give zero examples of that. And you just hate Stacey Abrams because you don't like the environmental justice work that she's doing. Because you don't give a rat's ass if black people in the inner city are drinking leaded water. That's what that's about.
Allegedly, it was for environmentally friendly appliances or something, and they've given like 100 appliances so far for $2 billion. It's a very expensive toaster or
but
whatever.
they're really nice.
One hell of an appliance.
Yeah, that's not what it's for. And the 1,000 toasters you're talking about, I mean, again, it's great when you don't actually have to give any of the details. And you can just kind of pick and choose little elements of it. This is the same kind of thinking that gave us like $10,000 toilet seats. And that means the Pentagon can't do anything right. Instead of, no, that's how they, on the one hand, divert funds in some cases. And on the other hand, if you have a toilet on a nuclear bomber, it's not something you can pick up at Home Depot, asshole. It's somewhere, no pun intended, between the device astronauts have to use and an incinerator. And it has to be able to fly at altitudes that are incredibly highly pressurized, still function, and not destroy the plane it's on. And it also has to be resilient. And it has to be something you can use if you're in an extended situation, for if you have to stay in the air for a fucking year, that kind of shit. Like, that's what they think about. And it has to be handmade and tested. And if you, per unit price, it turns out they're 10,000, but it's the experimentation to make a toilet that you can put on a fucking bomber that won't kill the pilot if they hit really bad turbulence at that high altitude. Yeah, by breaking apart. But can we just stop pretending that we don't understand that a toilet on an airplane is something you buy at the store, or any device that you buy for an airplane or a submarine, or like a nuclear sub, something that's in the water at like, I don't know, incredible depths for months at a time, isn't going to cost a lot of money, or, and this is where we get to this asshole, a lot of lives. You want to know why a lot of government shit costs a lot of fucking money, especially in the Pentagon and NASA and in experimenting with fucking traffic lights and all that kind of shit? You know why they spend so much fucking money on it? It's so that we don't have to learn the hard way. That the cost is either money or human lives. And these guys are saying, I don't know, really. I mean, that's what they sign up for, isn't it? Soldiers should just die, and we go, well, it's not, I guess that toilet didn't work. Just killed them, just blew up, cracked in half while they were sitting on it, thinking nothing of it. Right? That's the idea. It's so stupid.
That Sub-Zero fridge, boy, it's nice.
Right. This is obviously one of the biggest scam fraud holes.
Also, just a lie.
We've uncovered, which is really crazy, is...
By the way, you'll also notice they jump around with no details and kind of like they joke about it's kind of like. No. If you're accusing somebody of $2 billion of fraud, and I would recommend that Stacey Abrams sue all three of these assholes, but start with Ted Cruz. It's his fucking show. Sue him. Sue him. Because they just dropping a senator, a sitting senator, dropping on a podcast with Elon Musk that you have committed $2 billion worth of fraud, that's libelous. That qualifies. He's a government employee. And he needs that extra legal expense added to his fucking life right now.
Is that the government can give money to a so-called nonprofit with very few controls, and then
Oh, you mean like military contractors like Shea or Blackwater? Isn't Halliburton a non-governmental organization? Hey, isn't SpaceX a non-governmental organization? And so you have a problem with the government outsourcing their priorities to private entities. That's the problem. Hey, buddy, in a couple of cases, I'm with you. I think one of the ways you could save a lot of money is cancel SpaceX's contracts immediately and let Bezos pay full freight for his, with all that Amazon money for his rockets to rent the platform that NASA has instead of paying him to do it. How about that?
And there's no auditing subsequently of that nonprofit. So there's no. So this is where with the 1.9 billion to Stacey Abrams, they then give themselves extremely lavish, like insane salaries, expense everything to the nonprofit, buy jets and homes and all sorts of things.
Stacey Abrams hasn't bought a jet, insofar as I know, with the money for her nonprofit or lavish homes. If you have any evidence of that, you should share it. But what he's really tying this to is BLM. What he's doing is he's taking what the BLM heads did with largely corporate and Hollywood money, not federal money, and he's laying that on Stacey Abrams because what's the difference? One black lady, another black lady. That's what he's doing. And for the record, that's what Musk has done.
Live like kings and queens.
Yes.
The kings and queens reference, by the way, is a reference to the fact that black people often refer to themselves as when we were kings and Queen Latifah kind of stuff and the welfare queen, that kind of stuff. You'll hear them throw around kings and queens when it comes to black people a lot. They'll never bring it up when Donald Trump, who clearly thinks of himself as a monarch, mainly because they'd have to deal with, the emperor has no clothes kind of references. That's why.
The tax paradigm.
Correct.
You mentioned...
And this is happening at scale. It's not just one or two. We're seeing this everywhere.
Now,
No, you're not. If you were, you could cite a specific example from the Stacey Abrams thing, for example. Like you could give, I don't know, one line. We saw in what they purchased the same year this came out, she bought this and it was directly related to blah, 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 right? You could do that, which you have not done. Also, you could, if it was everywhere, you could bring up the company that kept cashing checks for a contract they were no longer fulfilling for an undisclosed amount of time. Bullshit. Again, these motherfuckers have to go to jail. If you find people that are doing that, it's a crime. It's a direct crime. And I can only think of two reasons why Pam Bondi and Kash Patel aren't rounding people up using this Doge evidence. Right? Why aren't they doing it? Well, it's one of two reasons. One, it's because it doesn't exist and they're just fucking making it up and they're pretending that contracts that ended under Biden have been ongoing because they were still listed there and they're like, we'll cut this off. They would keep getting checks if this was still listed here. And like, no, it isn't. That's not how it works. We have a whole accounting department that takes care of that. That'd be the one. One, it doesn't exist. They're fucking making it up. Or two, it involves far too many Republicans. That it's the Marjorie Taylor Greens of the world that are engaging in this shit. And if the only reason I can imagine that if that person is real, that person they talk about who had a 3-month contract that went on for fucking ever, the only reason I can imagine that they wouldn't name and shame this human being is because they work at fucking Mar-a-Lago, or they worked on Matt Gaetz's campaign, or they were yet another friend of Jeffrey Epstein, just like Trump is. And the money, the roots of the money go to him. Seriously, if it's a liberal, look at how they're shitting on Stacey Abrams just because they hate her guts. If it was clearly whoever that guy is they keep bringing up is a Republican and a friend of theirs and a big donor of Ted Cruz's. That's the only logical reason. I did not flip you off, Albert. I flipped off these two guys. That guy and that guy.
One of the things you told me about is what you
It's
call
insane.
magic money computers at the Treasury. So tell us about it, because I never heard of that until you brought that up.
Okay, so you may think that that the government computers all talk to each other, they synchronize.
No, I don't. As a matter of fact, I would believe that, let's take the Trump Organization for a second. Jesus fucking Christ. Trump Organization isn't just Trump.org or, it's Trump, the Trump family business. It is a shell that goes over 1,500 LLCs. And those LLCs don't talk to each other. They are separate. They're supposed to be. Now, there's all sorts of chicanery, I have no doubt, whatever. But the separation between them is for a reason. That way, if this business venture falls apart or this business venture falls apart, it doesn't take down the whole company. In the federal government, it's why we have fucking departments. It's why there are separate. It's why the Pentagon isn't part of the Department of Agriculture's work, or vice versa, or the SEC monitoring the financial sector isn't tied up in the same monetary system as Social Security, because they could burn each one of them down if they were attached. And separately in the Treasury, the Treasury handles so many things that aren't Social Security, for example, that you would want them separate. They shouldn't talk to each other. And the weird part is this asshole knows. Let me another example. This is one that Ted Cruz would understand. Holy shit. Ted Cruz, the senator, has a budget for his office that is provided by the federal government, including his salary, but also staff and all this other stuff. That has to be separate from Ted Cruz, the campaigning senator who's always running for re-election again. Now, you would think it's the same fucking guy, and this account and this account would be connected, but they can't be. Because if they were, one could take down the other. Do you understand? The corruption of one could destroy the other. Money bleeding into one from the other could use federal dollars to support the campaign, which is illegal. You could break the law by them being connected. So, of course, within the fucking Treasury that pays out stuff for the Pentagon and fucking agricultural subsidies and all this stuff that allocates the fucking money, of course they're separate. Dummy. You're right. My voice does get sexy and raspy when I'm excited. And the problem with this is like, in first principles, you would know this. Anybody knows this. Fuck is wrong with you? This is what happens when we grow up in this, what I would, this fucking Reagan-esque bullshit about the federal government being the problem all this time for years and years and years, while red states, by the way, by and large, rely on its existence for their existence. And this, on our side of the aisle, what I would call rebel incorporated, where rebelling against the man became so fucking intrinsic to everybody's personal brand that they don't even know what they're rebelling against. It's like this cardboard cutout of some 1984 overlord that you pretend exists half the time. It's the same lie people tell themselves. I don't trust people, man. People are stupid. Everybody's stupid. Like, well, then how do you fucking drive? How do you drive across this goddamn country or even your own town? You don't trust people. What do you think? That there's some magic to that yellow line in the road? Of course you do.
They add up what funds are going somewhere, and it's, it's coherent. That there's and that the numbers, for example, that you're presented as a senator, are actually the real numbers.
One would think.
One would think. No, they're not.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, they're not.
By the way, you'll notice, and this is crucial, and we're never gonna get through this shit in the time that I have allotted. But fuck it, I don't care. This is too important. This is what the show's about tonight. This is because there's so much bullshit here. This is so much bullshit. You'll notice what is, in the words of Hannibal Lecter, read Marcus Aurelius. What is the thing in and of itself? What does he do, this man you seek? He kills women. No, he covets. All right. So what is this really? What are we seeing here? What's happening? What is in this ridiculous and beyond faux billionaire bullshit artist talking to like the dweebiest senator? Sure, that's what's happening. But what's really happening is an illusion. You're watching a fucking magic trick, a cheap one at that. This is the magic trick you're watching. And I want to be really clear about this. The magic trick you're watching is this asshole talking to a senator, but he's not under oath. Most maggots will take this as him. He's always in communication with the Senate. There's all sorts of clarity and transparency, but he's not under oath. That's what this is. This is the illusion of testifying before the Senate. That's what this is for. Just to be clear. This is what, more than any detail or some bullshit apocryphal story he's making up, doesn't matter. What maggots and everyone around them and the peanut butter dickheads and the Glenn Becks of the world are supposed to take away from this is that he talks to the Senate. He's got nothing to hide. He was on Senator Ted Cruz's podcast and they spoke. This is in the White House. You're supposed to take away that this is just as good as him testifying in front of Congress, except he's not under oath. That's why. That's what this is for. To give the illusion of oversight. More than them just kind of chuckling, together over during his, like ketamine come down.
Totally wrong, but they're probably off by 5% or 10% in some cases. So I call a magic money computer any computer which can just make money out of thin air. That's magic money.
So how does that work?
It's
the Treasury, you dumb motherfucker.
Issues payments.
And you said there's something like 11 of these?
No, that's not how that works. It issues payments based on allocated funds within the confines of the amount that they're allowed to create. And again, he's like, what? What is this? Motherfucker, you've been in the Senate for what? Is this his third round now?
Computers at Treasury that are sending out trillions in payments?
They're mostly at Treasury. Some are, but there's some at HHS, there's one or two at State, there's some at DOD. I think we found now 14 magic money computers.
14, okay.
They just send money out of nothing.
You have an ability to...
Also, no, not out of nothing. They have money allocated either in real funds that is government allocated from tax dollars that are somewhere. And the idea is that will be transferred by the Treasury, which will move it from one place to another or allocate it digitally. That's like saying, again, you pay for something on Amazon and like it just makes money out of your little card. And then magically money in your account at some point, I guess, disappears.
see where leverage points are and how things actually happen. So I remember back, I think it was September, October of this year, before the...
Okay, fuckwad. Stop. Stop. He just told you there's somewhere like 7 computers in the federal government that just make up money. And you went, ha ha ha, isn't that terrible, blah, blah, blah. If that's anywhere close to true, it's the only thing you talk about. But you can't. Can't go any further in this. Maybe they get into it. I don't want to get too far ahead of it. But if that's the case, then, and you've had access to these computers, you have all the evidence you need for a committee hearing. Or you know that if you had a committee hearing and you had to testify under oath and you shared that information, someone on that committee would go, hey, asshole, that's not how it works. You just fucking got here. And in your ignorance, you are proving to everyone here that you are an incompetent fuck who doesn't belong anywhere near this. Here's how the money is allocated. Here is how the Congress works. We control the purse strings, motherfucker. The Treasury is named the Treasury for a fucking reason. God damn, this is dumb. Again, what is this? In and of itself, first principles. What is it? It's testifying without testifying.
Election, we didn't know who was going to win, and I was at your house in Austin. We were talking about it, and you said,
Sorry, a U.S. senator was at the house of a billionaire who has a bunch of federal contracts in Austin, Texas, where one of our space centers is. Just real quick, I mean, that sentence went by so fast that, maybe the content of it was lost on you. Oh my fucking God.
You said, look, I don't want a job in Washington. And you said, all I want is the login for every computer.
Jesus Christ. What? 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 Why didn't you call the police? Are you shitting me? Get the fuck. Hold on. Wow. Clip that shit. Oh my God. Just for the record, no, you can't have and by the way, the login for every government computer it's worth way more than any money you could get from a singular contract that, by the way, you'd have to actually do some fucking work for. Yeah. I'm sure the triad would like that as well. I'm sure the Chinese government would pay like an amazing amount of money for just a few of them. And imagine if you had all of them. You could blackmail the entire federal fucking government on behalf of the fucking Iranians, much less the Chinese or the Russians. I would like to remind you, his biggest factory is in Shanghai, the Gigafactory. And so let's boil this down. U.S. Senator, sitting U.S. Senator, on election night at the home of a billionaire with a lot of federal contracts, is told, I don't want to be paid. I just want the login to every computer. And your response was, and by the way, I got to hear the rest of this.
And I remember thinking at the time that sounded kind of weird. Like I just didn't get it.
Ted, that's because you're a fucking moron. You're a stupid person. You're and also cultishly stupid. I would like to remind you, it's not enough that you're dumb. You're also like purposefully dumb. You have to get up every morning and stare in a fucking mirror and go, I may be stupid, but I have to pretend that Trump is smarter than I am, even though I know he's stupider than I am. And I must believe it. And then forget to brush your teeth and leave the house smelling like a a gopher carcass.
And I have to say, what's interesting on this
is that you basically are helping him perpetrate a crime. That's interesting. I think that's interesting. I do. I find that very fucking interesting. Jesus Christ.
If I would have thought, like, okay, how do you reform government? Like, sort of the traditional way to think about it is, okay, give me an org chart. Let me sit down with the people who are running agencies. And what you saw immediately is to understand what's really going on, get to the payment systems, get to the computers.
Yeah.
Why is getting to the computers so critical to understanding what's actually happening?
You're presuming that that's what he needs to get access to the computers for. There's another reason why you would want access to all the computers. Dipshit.
Well, the government is run by computers. So you've got
No. No, it is not. The government is not run by computers any more than banks are run by computers, or fucking Target is run by computers. It is run using computers. That's like saying a mechanic is run by a fucking monkey wrench. Jesus, this is stupid. No, it isn't. It used to be run by 3 equal branches of government. Now it's run by a smelly orange nutsack with fucking piss-colored hay stapled to the top of his fucking head, who puts ketchup on steak, hung around with Jeffrey Epstein for a quarter fucking decade, and these assholes.
Essentially several hundred
basically
computers that effectively run the government.
No, they don't. They do not run the government. They don't. And by the way, you're saying it to a person who's is obligated by oath and employment to facilitate the running of the government. So why don't you just slap him in the face with your dick if either of you can find it?
And if you want to know...
Did you know that, Ben?
No.
Like...
Yeah. So when...
because it's not true.
Somebody... Like even when the president issues an executive order, that's got to go through a whole bunch of people until ultimately it is implemented at a computer somewhere.
Implemented. And no, it's not. The function of the federal government is not 100% virtual at some point. It does not, when FEMA payments are received, they don't just sit there, my job is done here. It has to be turned into workers and water and apartments and shit like that while people recover from hurricanes and shit like that. That's the end result. The computer aspect of it is a coordination point. It's this is so fucking dumb.
And if you want to know what the situation is with the accounting and you're trying to reconcile accounting and get rid of waste and fraud, you must be able to analyze the computer databases. Otherwise, you can't figure it out. Because all you're doing is asking a human.
Sure you can. You want to know how? I can tell you. You want to know how? No. Look, this is the point where somebody in my position will say, hey, I'm just a comedian. I'm just an actor. What do I know? I'm just a incredibly talented musician. What do I know about this? I'm not some, South African Nepo baby with blood emerald money to throw around, who went to a fancy school like he did at an elite school. That's the part where I'm supposed to downplay myself. And all I can say is I'm not going to do that. I'm a fucking genius. And it doesn't take the depth of my knowledge to understand the difference between implementation points and administration. And it's very easy to figure out the ins and outs of something without having access to those things. And spies do it all the fucking time. The publicly available information about a bill that was passed in Congress for the budget of a particular circumstance. And the allocation through the department that it goes to, say USAID or something like that, to pay out to non-governmental organizations that are on a list of approved non-governmental organizations. I get the list of those approved non-governmental organizations. I get the bill for that allocates the amount of money that went out the door. Then I contact all those places, and I either get directly from them their accounting that they filed with the IRS, or we just go and talk to them and go, hey, we're just checking on how the money is spent, and we know directly. So you bypass the computers entirely. You go to the group. If they're not willing to say so, then you hold a hearing and you go, hey, we're concerned that the money isn't going where we think it's going because we know this chunk of money went to them and they're not telling us how it was spent. We don't need access to the computers at all. Not hard. Doesn't require any of that shit. Because again, all of it has to be turned into something. If it stays virtual cash in an account and doesn't go anywhere, unless you can argue that it's being bounced through the fucking Caymans, then the argument would be the SEC is not doing its job in tracking stuff. Or we need more IRS agents.
Who will then ask another human, and finally usually ask some contractor who will ask another contractor to do a query on the computer.
Wow.
That's how it actually works. So it's many layers deep. So the only way to reconcile the databases and get rid of waste and fraud is to actually look at the computers and see what's going on.
No, it isn't. No, it isn't. You could call for an audit of NGO money because every contract that goes out from the federal government for money to an NGO has limits on it on what the stuff can be used for. And you're allowed to make sure that they're spending it that way. And if they don't talk to you, then you can have the IRS go after them, or you can bring them before Congress and you can hold them in contempt, and you have a myriad of ways. You can have federal judges give warrants to look into their books. You have a lot of ways of doing it. None of it involves giving nameless, faceless fucking dweebs and nihilist fucking incels who used to work at Neuralink access to everybody's social security fucking information.
That's what I call, when I sort of cryptic.
God damn, spit it out, dumb fuck. Elon, I would love to interview you. You're not going to like it, and I know you don't want to do it. Let's sit down together, because I would love to remove some of the more laborious thinking that you have to do to justify bullshit, and I can explain a few things to you that you are too egotistical to even try to understand. And this is, believe me, this is coming from someone with a very healthy ego.
Referred to reprogramming the matrix. You have to understand what's going on.
Matrix, if are we going to have like a Matrix 1984 Animal Farm drinking game?
Computers, you have to reconcile the computer databases in order to identify the waste and fraud.
I don't know that there was anyone in Congress who understood, certainly myself included, who understood the leverage that comes from the computer and the data in particular. That
there might be some reason a billionaire psychopath might want access to all the data on U.S. computers that are normally classified. I don't even know. I can't even have some sort of high level thinking to figure out why anybody would want access to that shit, except the Chinese will buy 50 million of your cars and bring your stock price back up to normal if you give them some backdoor keys and some malware. Maybe that's why. Turd Cruz, maybe. Jesus fucking Christ. Texas, look, I know you guys think you're fucking macho and everything's bigger in Texas and stuff. How the fuck did you get this like dweeby, weasel-voiced twerp as your fucking senator? If you're going to have an asshole who's this ignorant being your senator, at least find a fucking cowboy who's materially impressive as an alpha male. At least live up to your own bullshit. At least have him come in smoking a fucking cigarette and talking like this, riding a fucking Harley and like fucking cowboy hat that no matter how heavy the wind is, it never blows off, ladies and gentlemen. You're fucking, I'm here. I'm standing in the middle of the street in his ad with like 6 guns on either side, you know, and at the other end, there's a fucking copy of the budget. And he just shoots little holes right through the fraud and doesn't hit anything else. Hello, ladies. I don't get it. I don't get it. Explain yourself, Texas. Why do you keep hiring these dweebs? Fuck me.
Congress would think about, give me a report on what you're expending.
Listen to his voice. How do you do it? How do you go into a voting booth and do that to yourself? Even his ignorance pales in comparison to how aggravating his fucking voice is. What the shit is wrong with you, Texas? You know what? I take it back. I'm messing with Texas. Everything isn't bigger in Texas. You guys must be the biggest pile of shriveled dicks on earth to keep sending this dude out as your representative. I don't understand it. I'm messing with you. You need to be messed with. And if you're as macho as you fucking say you are, you can take it. Okay? Shit. Hold on. I'll help out. Hey, Texas. Let me tell you something. Don't ask. This is my messing with Texas hat. Get your shit together. This makes no sense to me. Every Texan I meet for the next fucking, I don't know, how long is he in? Was he up in 2 years? Is his next election? Is he just won again for the next 6? However long the rest of his term is, every Texan I meet is going to get a fucking earful. Explain this motherfucker. What are you doing? Because I hate to say this, Texas, you're making me say it. But I'm starting to think you're Iowa. Yeah. Yeah. You're just a big Iowa. No slam on Iowa. At least they admit it. They're basically, you know, like 2 Canadian towns and a bunch of farms pretending to be, you know, stuck in middle America. But Texas, I gotta call bullshit on you. I'm sorry. I don't know where I got it. I got this for fucking 4th of July for the jam once. Hi, Murph. You trying to escape? Hi, buddy. Sorry. I'll let you out. I know. Here you go, buddy. Hold on. I got you. Come here. They won't. I know. I got you. They just want to say hi. And then I'll let you go. Don't worry. I'll let you go. There you go. I know. You okay, buddy? Yeah. I know. You're a good boy. You're good. Why? You're right. You do have a more macho voice than Ted Cruz. There you go. Head out this way. There you go, buddy. Yeah, door's open. Molly, are you still in there? Yeah, you good? Okay. Molly's still in the closet. We'll leave her alone. Yeah, not only did I fuck with Texas today, call them out on their bullshit, but I'm a grown man in a created equal shirt holding up his wonderful cat and giving it a kiss on its noggin. And I haven't lost any macho points. I know it hurts, Texas. I know. I'm sorry. I don't know what happened to you. I was rooting for you. Believe me. I was very excited when you got most of the land from Comancheria. Seriously. I'm with you. I think the Comanche had it coming. We got a lot of room to talk. But Ann is a huge fan of Lone Wolf McQuade, and I personally think it's Chuck Norris's best movie, hands down. Um, you're starting to disappoint me, and you're starting to disappoint Chuck. I'm sure of it. And you don't disappoint Chuck. You don't do it.
Expenditures are, rather than actually getting into the pipes. And I think that has been fascinating, that it's let you uncover a bunch of crap that just nobody knew.
Yes. I mean, in order for money to go to a bank account, it's not like we're sending truckloads of cash all over the place.
Actually, in some cases, we do.
We're wiring money.
Right.
We're sending
Right. Yeah, we know. It's 2025.
money through the ACH system or through the SWIFT system. So in order for money to flow, it's going to flow electronically. So that's what you need to.
Wow. I'm so glad we have a genius to help us all walk through this. I'm like, whatever. Maybe I should get ChatGPT to help translate this from, genius to fuckwit for all of our benefit.
Okay, you need to look at the actual electronic money flows.
And Tesla and all your companies, you have accounting and you have every expenditure, you have it coded for what it's going for. Federal government doesn't work that way. They don't code what the money's going for.
They do now.
But they didn't.
They didn't.
And like one of
they budget where the money was going for, and the departments had oversight into that, and they absolutely did. Now, I don't doubt that they have flexibility in it, because if everybody knows where the money goes, like I said, I can extrapolate from where money is being spent. And I used this analogy the other day, and I think it holds up, that a warlord in Afghanistan or Iraq or anywhere, in let's say where there's UN peacekeepers, and if they got access to the base nearby that normally orders 8,000 meals, just ordered 12,000 meals because there's a holiday coming up. What does that tell me? That tells me that they are adding personnel. Now, they don't ever add personnel. If I know they've added personnel before, but before there were 8,000 normally, and it's been 8,500, 9,000. Now it's going to be 12,000. They're increasing the force that's there by 50%. I know something is coming. Now, if I know anything else about what's happening politically in the area, I can put those two things together and go, okay, there's going to be a move. And I can prepare for it. And that's just knowing who bought the meals and where they're going. And by the way, I'd like to remind you that this can apply to an NGO that is expecting refugees. They can get it from those books. Over the years, that's what's happened. A lot of these things have gotten more opaque for safety's sake in really fucked up areas of the world. Also, it's gotten opaque because people in Ted Cruz's district don't want everybody to know how much they live off the government tit.
the things that you told me, you said if any company kept its books the way the federal government does, they'd arrest the officers and put them in jail.
Yes. If it was a public company.
By the way, for the record, Ted Cruz is one of the people who's in charge of keeping the books.
It would be delisted immediately. It would fail its audit, and the officers of the company would be imprisoned. That's.
You may, well, what about, and this, I'm just spitballing, what if a company made a product that only, by and large, Democrats and environmentally conscious people bought, and suddenly the CEO started doing like Nazi salutes and palling around with politicians who were undermining, EPA air quality standards and gasoline and pollution standards and those kind of things, and started pushing for more drilling in in Alaska and places like that, and on federal land near our aquifers where our water comes from and shit like that. And there were other electric car companies to choose from, and they went, and the vast majority of the people who were going to buy from him suddenly went, fuck that company, I'm not buying from them anymore. And at the same time, that we find out that they were fucking using rubber cement to hold the panels onto their vehicles, and they were coming off in traffic and causing accidents. What would happen to the CEO in that situation? Should the board, and what, fuck, not what would happen, what should happen? What should the board and the investors, and what if the stock price of that company dropped 50% in 70 days directly because of what this asshole was doing. What would happen to the CEO in that situation? I doubt he'd be arrested, but he sure as shit wouldn't be working there for very long.
Level of malfeasance in the federal government, unfortunately.
It's stunning.
Deliberately, or do you think this is incompetence again?
It's 80%. It's 80% incompetence and 20% malice.
So if you look at Doge now,
Also, by the way, no evidence of either in any of the situations they brought up so far. Just shit they disagree with or shit they can't prove that they're making up to justify him getting access to the private information of American citizens. Period.
now, and you look at the government.
By the way, just for the record, if you asked Ted Cruz, do you think he could, as a sitting senator with oversight, who's responsible for the purse strings of the government, you think he could name any of the Doge guys who he is tacitly giving access to the secret computers that the government runs on to protect our infrastructure from foreign adversaries who would destroy it? You think he could name a one? I bet he could say Big Balls and he wouldn't know the guy's real name. That would be it. And he would think it was funny and they joke about it for a second and they would go.
And what you're finding, what percentage have you guys?
I don't want a percentage, you dumb fuck. I want evidence. I want an actual material example. One actual material example that's more than, the average kind of government way shit that we see whenever they do a review. I don't want to hear anything that's less than $50 billion. Otherwise, I just want you to discuss why Marjorie Taylor Greene never had to pay back her PPP loans. What's the difference? I mean, if we're just going to talk about scale and $7 trillion budget for the U.S. government, and we're talking about meaningless numbers in millions of dollars that you think are like shocking. Okay, we're going to talk about meaningless numbers that are a drop in the bucket. That's like, whatever, a millisecond of borrowing over the course of the year for the federal government. Then I want to talk about Marjorie Taylor Greene not having to pay back her PPP loans. Why is that not brought up? And by the way, malice or fraud, and you don't get to flip a fucking coin.
Has even gotten to, and how much of it is Mars, where you haven't even gotten there yet because there's
ouch.
So much you're finding out here. I mean, how many? You seem like a timeline guy when you say, "All right, I want to get in there and get all these."
He seems more to me like a wasting everyone's timeline guy.
Numbers and things. How far are we from the end game where you've seen it all, been able to process it all?
Why are we even talking about this dude who has not sworn an oath, who has not been elected, seeing it all? Why is that even a thing? He's not even a cabinet level appointee. There's a reason why the Senate has to give clearance to these people
and fix it. I mean, are we years away, months away?
Not years.
Let me do something I'm really good at right now. Let me overpromise and underdeliver in a very dramatic way.
I'm reasonably confident that we'll be able to get $1 trillion of waste and fraud out, and that meaning that it will have we'll have a net savings in FY26, which starts in October, obviously, of $1 trillion.
Wow!
Provided we're allowed to continue and our progress is not impeded, and we're very
again, no, you're not on track for that kind of shit. You've already had a tremendous amount of access, and again, the only things you've discovered are things you don't like. which every administration does. I would like to point out that a lot of the cuts that they've made, with the exception of like shutting down USAID for a couple of days or shutting down, attempting to shut down the Department of Education, those kind of things, which are not budgetary savings. Again, they are just disagreements about policy that the Senate and the House have a say in. And that's what these judges are ruling on. The money that they're discovering they don't like spent someplace is the same shit every president comes in and does. This is the doing and undoing of executive orders that every administration does, largely because the American electorate bounces back and forth between these fucking Republicans that are like, everything the government can't do anything right, elect me and I'll prove it, and Rebel Incorporated on the left.
Very public about what we do.
Yeah, you put it on the website.
It's on the website.
I don't know how we could.
It's not on the website. A bunch of lies and abject bullshit are on the website. I've covered it a bunch.
Be more transparent. Literally every action we do, small or large, we put on the Doge.gov
That's a lie.
website.
Also, who's we? How about that? Let's start with the Doge website. Who's we, motherfucker? You want to be that transparent? Who's we? There's a list of every elected senator. There's a list of every elected House member. There's a list of their staff. You can look at their campaign staff, paid and unpaid. Right? So why can you not see the names of the people in Doge if they're making these kind of high-level decisions on behalf of the American people? I'll tell you why. Because it's a heist. Because Doge is a heist. And they haven't found shit.
We post on the X.
Oh, and by the way, apparently we have Musk suckers or maggots in the chat. All of a sudden, somehow the troll showed up. I think it's because, I'm not buying into the fake cult of Elon. So he sends out, some of his people, or they show up anyways. But I'd like to say for the record, he's like all unpaid. Yes, all the Doge guys are unpaid. You know why? Because bank robbers don't work on a salary. They get paid in the back end. They get paid in what they can walk out with. Work for free. Get the fuck out of here. If you're that much of a patriot that you'll work for free for the American people, why can't we know your name? It's idiotic. But I would like to thank the maggots for joining us today, because they might learn something. One, that we're not all easily cowed and have no sense of humor and are weak-kneed or whatever myth you have about Democrats or people on my side of the aisle. But on top of that, you help me with the algorithm in a way that regular viewers cannot, because the algorithm sees you here and goes, oh shit, not only is he good at drawing a crowd, but he's engaging. Everything you type makes the algorithm get nipples go erect. So I appreciate that. I think it's a little pervy on your part, but I'm glad you're here and you're welcome. And as long as you don't use any bigoted language, you can stick around. You really can. And when you get to the point when you realize this dude is a fraud and that Donald Trump was Jeffrey Epstein's wingman for 25 fucking years, and that's why the Epstein files aren't coming out unredacted, and immediately on day one, like Kash Patel said, you'll realize that at some point. I trust it. I trust you will. At one day, you'll wake up to it. And when you do, we'll be there to say, welcome back. It's cool. Everybody gets suckered once in a while. Nothing wrong with that. But until then, we get to call you an asshole.
Handle. And when people complain about it, and they say, oh, you're doing something unconstitutional, I'm like, well, which of these cost
You're doing
savings?
it in the daylight. I mean, everyone knows exactly what you're doing.
Extreme.
No, they don't. I'll give you an example. Shall we jump in, ladies and gentlemen? Should we go to doge.gov and look at it again? By the way, the number at the top of the page, let me stretch this out so I can show it to you. The number at the top of the page has not materially changed since the last time we looked at it, which is about a week ago. So if these assholes are at it every fucking day and they're discovering what will equivalently be $1 trillion worth of waste by fucking October, when what they found so far is nowhere near this. And I would like to say, like, look at this, estimated savings. Look at the legalese right here. See that? Now, what does this say? Is this waste, fraud, and abuse we're getting away with? Huh? Huh? Combination of asset sales, many of which they had to buy back, contract lease cancels and renegotiations, also renegotiations, really? So you know what the renegotiated contract's going to be when you haven't renegotiated it yet? You're just giving yourself credit that you're going to be able to do it at some point? Based on what? Also, the cancellations, they include cancellations that were made by the Biden administration. So, okay. Fraud and improper payment deletion. Fraud and improper payment deletion. So they're deleting fraud and they're deleting improper payments. Okay. Improper meaning stuff they disagree with. Again, stuff that every White House does. Grant cancellations, again, stuff every White House does. Interest savings, which is assumed. Programmatic changes, simmer. Regulatory savings, again, a myth. And workforce reductions, many of whom had to be rehired when they don't even know what these fucking people do for a living. And again, when they get rehired, which they are going to in many cases, we were going to have to pay them back pay for shit they didn't actually do. They got a 2-month paid vacation thanks to this asshole in Doge. Does that sound like it's efficient? People go back to work to do work they need to do, and we have to pay them because they were illegally fired. And to get them, to make them whole, you have to repay them. And yet the work that they were supposed to be doing wasn't done for months, including shit at the FAA, you weirdos. All right, now let's go down. Government Efficiency Board. Look at these. We hate these agencies. 3-letter and 2-letter, fuck them, right? Okay, this is just posturing. The most savings are from General Services Administration. The least savings come from the Department of Energy, Department of Defense, Transportation, Commerce. Gee, it's all the ones that business insists on. SBA, NASA, where he's got contracts, DOJ, which is, again, you can't save money from DOJ. I thought stopping the weaponization of government should save us a bunch of money. And HUD, right? Because we don't spend that much on it to begin with. Also, the General Services Administration is the way they pay out most of the contractors. So it's always going to be the highest. Now, wall of receipts. Here we go. Contracts, agency, Bureau of Land Management, EEO, DEIA support. That's the description for this. This Corchia Briscoe Enterprises, $440,000 contract, $145,000 in savings because they canceled it. Now, what if the cost, whatever we were getting from this is federal mediation and conciliation service? Okay, so when you don't have to hire, when you need those services next time, instead of having them under contract, you have to negotiate a price directly at market level for who's available in a timely fashion, or you can't carry out lawsuits and the like. And so therefore, whatever this is attenuated to, you have to pay market price at the time instead of having them under contract. Okay. Again, you just have to assume this because they ended the contract that is savings and not work that we need done that isn't going to be done, right? Let's try commodity futures. Financial Times Limited, total contract 108,000 for FT.com subscriptions, 129,000. So they're canceling these things. And again, now either the people to keep track of what's going on in the industries they deal with either have to have a personal connection to these things. They have to, read those papers on their own, pay for them out of pocket, which I guess they will write off in their taxes, which they legally would have the right to do. Now that they're not provided by their job, they will have to get these things on their own. And then we'll end up taking them as a deduction in taxes coming in. What's zeroed out? 1-to-1. Okay, so let's go with this part. Okay. Grants. They eliminated grants for all these. Learn, work, and earn. Let's try this one. What's this one? Learn, work, and earn. Grow your own practice-based residency pathways to prepare effective educators. So this is to, we're short of teachers. So this is a program in the Department of Education to fund and produce more teachers, which again, we do not have enough of. $6 million grant, save $4.8 million. Again, if we need teachers, and that grant was producing teachers for a long time, and it kept being re-upped by the Congress because it did that very thing, all you're doing is eliminating teachers, not savings. It will cost us. And it's not a savings just because you cancel a contract. It doesn't work that way. If the work needs to be done, then why in the ever-loving shit would you cancel the contract? because the work has more value. The work has more value than the money you're spending. That's how profit works. Oh, do I only have an hour on Substack? Is that how that works? Don't. Sorry, Substack. I'll post the other half hour or the other hour on the second end of this. It says I'm live. Okay. I don't know why that went. It said live video, it ended. I'm like, I have not. All right. Here's view us in okay, this is the other thing. View in usaspending.gov. Now, this is the Doge website. Okay, this is their thing. This is usaspending.gov. What's usaspending.gov, you might ask? Well, it's a site that's been around forever. Well, at least as long as we've had websites. This is a project grant. Feign in progress. 6 months remain of this. So University of St. Thomas. Hold on. So learn, work, earn, grow your own practice base. $6.8 million grant. $4.8 million in savings. So they grant this every year, I guess, for this program is the idea. So why wouldn't you say, okay, it ends this year and it's going forward, every year we stop doing this because it's a recurring one. Well, it isn't. Okay. So view in USA spending, we jump to that and it says it's a grant to the University of St. Thomas in St. Paul, Minnesota. Assistance League, a CFDA program, supporting effective educator development program. Start date, October 1st, 2023. End date, September 30th, 2023. 2.1 million is outlaid. 5.3 is the obligated amount left over. So that's the 4.8 they've said they're saving is the obligated amount since they canceled it. Outlaid amount 2 million. Obligation amount no. Non-federal spending 0. Total funding 5.2. Learn, work, and earn. Grow your own practice-based residency pathways to prepare effective educators. This is their transaction table where the money went out. Total funding obligated. Blah, blah, blah. Result count may differ between tree map. Blah blah blah. Okay. Assistant listing and information. Okay, supporting effective educators. This is objective. The purpose of SEED programs is to, one, support pathways that allow teachers, principals, and other school leaders with non-traditional preparation and certification to obtain employment in traditionally underserved local education services or agencies. Provide evidence-based professional development activities that address literacy, numeracy, remedial, or other needs of LEAs. This is like poor areas that don't have enough teachers and the students they serve. 3, provide professional development that enhances or enables student opportunities in dual enrollment programs or early college high school settings. Make services and learning opportunities freely available to LEAs, including through publicly accessible electronic means. Provide teachers, principals, or other school leaders with evidence-based, and that's the key, evidence-based. This means it's not like DEI or any of that shit that they're talking about, that they have a fucking, a bug up their ass about. Professional enhancement activities, which may include activities that lead to advanced credentials. So this is so that they can, elementary schools teachers can teach in high school, and high school teachers can teach at colleges, and and they can move up that or keep up to date, right? Office of Elementary and Secondary Education Department. There's the website for it. Discretionary grant support services. So these are, this is part of a bigger program of discretionary grants of the Department of Education. That's what what they're counting as something that they surgically removed is anything, because Trump is shutting down the Department of Education. They're just cutting everything the Department of Education does. So here's all the grants the Department of Education does. Now, does this look like they're making sure that that each one is crucial and the crucial ones stay, and then they're saving all the ones, or they're cutting all the ones that are terrible? Okay, so let's see. Let's grab this USAID one. We're doing these at random. Savings, $40 million, $62 million. The purpose of this cooperative agreement to implement the Afghanistan Integrated Youth Activity in Afghanistan. This would be USA spending. Agency for, we can cut that, I guess, largely because Biden got us out of Afghanistan. Cooperative for Assistance and Relief Everywhere Incorporated. This is a company in Atlanta, Georgia. USAID Foreign Assistance for Programs Overseas. View more information about this program. Okay, the Foreign Assistance Program supports long-term and equitable economic growth and advanced U.S. foreign policy objectives by supporting economic growth, agriculture and trade, global health, democracy, conflict prevention, and humanitarian assistance. That's what they do. Here's the modification. assistance in listing. The amount was 21 million. Here's the results, 1 of 1. Additional unique award key. This is okay. Oh, so let me show you this real quick. You know how they say there's money and nobody knows where it goes and it's not allocated, and nobody, the money goes out, and nobody knows where it goes, and it's not attributed to anything, and it's not associated with anything. Okay, USAID gets its money, and then it has within it, like every other department, a unique award key. When you're spending this money, where is it gone? And each organization you're sending it out to has one of these, and that is associated with it on the program by which you send out the money that you're spending in support. This is the okay, and this is financial assistant non-aggregated federal award identification number. There it is, right there. That's another one of the 2 numbers that they put. Award sub-agency code. So this is how you know where it's going. How you know it came out of USAID. Agency details. The awarding agency was USAID. The awarding office was their Afghanistan bureau. The funding agency was was USAID. The funding office came directly out of there. So you know exactly who's doling out this money. Place of performance. All or mostly in Afghanistan, which is the triplicate aspect of the address here. Period of performance. Started in 10/24, ends 9/29. So this is a 5-year contract that they just killed. Basically, because fuck Afghanistan is the idea. But the idea is that we were trying to find ways, I think, of shuffling women out of the country and helping them. Cooperative for Assistance and Relief Everywhere Incorporated, which is the group that was doling it out. The recipient identifier is there. And this is what I'm telling you when he's going, there's no unique identifier. There's no way of tracking this money. This has always existed. This site that they are using to explain, this is it. This has been here this whole time. Start searching awards. You can just go look through here. We looked through this before when Doge first showed up. So far this year, the federal government plans to spend $3.62 trillion, including $638.63 billion on Medicare, $583.01 billion on national defense, $543.86 billion on Social Security. See more breakdowns of federal spending. And you can tell that Doge has not created this site because there's a black lady using a computer on it. Also, one second. Hold on. Freeze for a second, you silly thing. Block user on Facebook. There we go. Look, don't sell fucking ivermectin in my chat. That's where I draw a line. I have plenty here. I don't know where I put it, but it's around here somewhere. I haven't had Casey use it yet. This is how you can tell Doge has not did not make this site, because there are black people on it. I'm not kidding. So, all right. So the Doge site, for the record, that they are referencing stuff off of here, and they are counting as stuff they've won, just abject cuts in this. You eliminate USAID, and therefore, hold on, close it. Quit. I'm trying to close this one. There we go. They want credit for everything USAID was doing that they don't like. Same thing with the Department of Education. Okay, so Cal Poly Tier, Department of Education, Cal Poly Tier, Teaching for Inclusivity and Equity Residency Program. So this is what you would call a DEI program in their estimation. $2 million grant, $278,000. Now, this is Cal Poly getting a grant from the federal government to try and be more inclusive and bring people in, and they cut it. This is not waste. This is not fraud. This is not abuse. They just disagree with it. And again, every president that comes in, their teams go through and pare this kind of stuff out in the administrative ability of these things as far as priorities. This is not, they didn't find fraud here. They consider it a waste. That doesn't make it a waste. They just don't like DEI programming. And you can not like it, but don't pretend you're saving money on something that's fraudulent or something just because of that. And this is, by the way, how they went through. There you go. Next Gen Colorado, a grow your own approach to preparing teachers for rural Colorado. I guess this is the fuck you, Lauren Boebert part. and I've said this before, most of these cuts are going to hurt rural red states, or red state rural areas, specifically because they're the ones that rely the most on the federal government to do this kind of work for them. If red states have enough teachers, it's not because they pay better. It's because the federal government, through the Department of Education, has come in and kept them afloat. Shit, I'm already I got 4 minutes to the end of the show. All right, let's get, it's not my fault, okay? It's not my fault. There's so much bullshit and so many lies in this stuff that I get distracted with facts. Now, we will go through, and increasingly in these things, this is, and the idea that there's some sort of surgery going on in this is bullshit. Or the idea that they're using a super smart methodology or AI to find all this shit. How about this? Here's the Department of Health and Human Services thing. $1 million grant, $648,000 saving, Agency of Department of Health and Human Services. And what does it say in the line next to it? No description currently available. Trust me, bro. I mean, what more transparency could you possibly want? Environmental Protection Agency. The agreement provides funding the Institute for Sustainable Communities to serve as a national environmental justice thriving communities technical. Okay, so this is what they think is their attack on Stacey Abrams, which is that urban areas, impoverished urban areas, and this is the part that they're going to hear a lot of squealing from West Virginia over this, and they won't understand why. Really impoverished Appalachian areas also benefit from these kind of funds allocated specifically because on an environmental justice level, they live an unjust environmental life due to the fact that their town just happens to be downstream from a coal processing plant that dumps the waste into the river water and gives birth defects to generations of kids. That would be, you want to know what environmental justice is? Is for years, we all enjoyed the benefits of coal-fired plants for a long time without really worrying about the cleanup. And some people, as it grew, became victimized by no fault of their own. And nobody said, hey, by the way, all that energy we're making, your children are going to be born with birth defects if you stay here. So we're going to help you move. That didn't happen. So some level of restitution or some level of health care or some level of making that right by going, hey, guys, we're going to have to clean this up. It's like a Superfund site. We're going to need you guys to move, and we're going to help you move. Start thinking about where you'd like to go, and we'll give you, a down payment on a house because it wasn't your fault that you were, for years, you were downstream from this place. But as it grew, the waste started growing the amount in your water and it became untenable and nobody bothered to check you. And yeah, so fuck it. But what this is what Musk wants maggots to think is this is fuck black people in the inner city with lead paint on their walls. But when it's really fuck you, Appalachia. Because the EPA spends a lot of fucking time. And this is inflation. Okay, description. This agreement provides funding under the Inflation Reduction Act, which is allocated by government, and it will be reinstated. The agreement provides funding to Earth Care International. Specifically, the recipient will partner with the city and county of Santa Fe Public Schools District. There you go. Health Equity Partnership. Look, it goes right to usaspending.gov, the site that already exists. Wow, the transparency that it was already there. I don't even know why Doge doesn't just redirect to usaspending.gov and say, look it up yourself. Jesus. Environmental Justice Collaborative Program, Solving Cooperative Agreement Program, blah, 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 outlaid $89,000, $500,000 for this one. Total funding. This agreement provides funding under the Inflation Reduction Act. The agreement provides funding to Earth Care International. Specifically, the recipient will partner, that would be an obligation, With the city and county of Santa Fe Public School District, the Health Equity Partnership, Main Street, New Mexico, and Southside Business Council to conduct a community-led health assessment for the south side of Santa Fe using the collaborative problem-solving framework to develop concrete urban planning, local policy, and community-driven development solutions to the environmental justice and public health challenges facing the area. So we know there are environmental and public health challenges facing the area. This is us dealing with them. There you go. They will use a health impact assessment to establish a foundation for cumulative impacts assessment while considering land use development proposals, foundation for cumulative impact assessment while considering, sorry, I've scooped that. They will also conduct a citizen science air monitoring project focused on emissions from an asphalt plant to empower students and residents in the area with data to inform community advocacy efforts. These complementary projects will engage public institutions, business leaders, decision makers, and thousands of youths and families in collaborative problem solving and public policy development. The expected outcome of the community-driven assessment project will be policy and community development directives developed by diverse stakeholders to foster environmental justice, improve community health, and build long-term resilience in the face of climate change activities. Okay, so this is shit they just disagree with. They don't like environmental justice stuff because fuck them. That poor people deserve to live in polluted areas. And if there's a new factory we put in near you because the zoning is such, fuck you. And we don't need anybody looking. The worry that they have this grant, don't worry, I'm not under the illusion that they actually give a fuck. This is just in the list of all the things that the EPA was doing that they're just cutting, period. Anything that has DEI in it, they're just creating a list, and and that's it, even if it will save lives. Like, yeah, but whose lives are we really saving? Is bullshit. This is specific to the fact that these people are downwind from a new asphalt plant and they need to do an environmental assessment. Otherwise, people will end up, again, birth defects, asthma, and then what do you think the cost of Medicaid is in the future if you don't remedy these kind of things or provide services to make sure that people's health care, where do you think that cost goes? I mean, don't get me wrong. I think Elon Musk and the Doge crowd are quite happy with people just dying, in their beds, poor, or on the street someplace, choking to death on their own mucus, at the tail end of an impoverished life that was caused by, a stack of medical bills that they got because a factory moved in down the street and they just happened to be downwind from it and nobody told them about the environmental dangers of it, so they at least had a choice to move. I know they're not. They're fine with that. But the question is the rest of the state okay with that? Say New Mexico or any other state for that matter, or the federal government in the future? And are you going to have to pay for the health damage later? Because at some point, somebody's Christianity might actually fucking kick in and we might go, we can't just let these people die. So you can pay now and pay less and pay in a coordinated way, or you can pay an unknown, god-awful amount to remedy something that has caused a bunch of pain and suffering. It's why you plan. It's why you don't walk into a room and everything's a target. I know, I went long. And this first chunk of this is a half hour long. There's no fucking way I'm going to get through all of it. Chat room, I apologize. And I can't go extra long tonight for a bunch of reasons, not the least of which is I need to heal my voice. So tomorrow, Friday in the morning, our dear friend Rob Glenn will be joining us. Man, oh man, do I have some fucking robot news for you guys. Whew. I think I have evidence for the idea that, and I understand, check me on this, but that it almost makes sense the Democrats didn't want to win this election because they know it's coming. And it's not anybody's fault and no one has the remedy for it because it's just a giant change. Sorry, let me, that thing. I'm checking the staff chat and Rob Glenn tomorrow, next Friday, Rob Glenn and Chris Lavoie from oh, nice. So this week, Rob Glenn's going to be on. And next week, Rob Glenn and Chris Lavoie. I'm very excited about that because next week, when I do the show, I will already be in Los Angeles because Flappers is a week from tomorrow. And also Tuesday, I am hosting a like a memorial concert for Jack White from, Jack Russell. I'm reading and talking at the same time. Jack Russell from Great White and the whiskey. So there you go. And Sunday, I'll be at the King's X show. And I know I got to stop talking. But I went last night. They were here in Vegas, and I love them. And I couldn't not go. They're here. Like, I love them, and they're right here. If you have a chance, a friend who was at the show said they've designed a shirt that says "Buy a King's X record," and and she's like, "Would you wear one if I'm like, would I wear one? I wear it on the show regularly. It would stink. I'd wear it so much." So just so you know, you'll be seeing me in that eventually. But last night, even as rough as my voice is, they ended the show with Goldilocks, and I was like, oh God damn it. They turn the thing they normally do is they turn the mics around on the crowd because the crowd sings it. It's a really beautiful moment when everybody knows the words and everybody sings it just like the record because they love it so much. And Ty takes his microphone, and when he's turning around, he doesn't go straight out to the crowd. He goes right to me. Like I'm right down there. And I was like, okay. I was gonna take it easy. No, I wasn't. Okay, I don't know. But I was gonna at least and then I was the loudest person in the room. And my voice, as wrecked as it is, can find its way through that song. And Ty, as he's walking off stage, goes, and I was like, if you only knew, my brother. So, and the other thing is they dedicated Summerland to me last night, which is lovely. When I'm in the audience, they dedicate the song to me. And the nicest thing about it was the fact that Summer was with me. And she's obviously a big reason. I've always loved that song, even before I knew her. But it has extra special meaning because of our long and storied relationship. So if you haven't heard that song, I recommend listening to it. And I also recommend, again, because they brought it up, the song King by King's X. And we'll have Johnny and I will have a whole conversation. I got to go. I got to rest my voice. What am I doing? I mean, come on. I got to go. I know the maggots want me to stay. I know they hate to love me. Hey, maggots. Sorry to burst your bubble about Elon Musk's faux intellect. Sorry to remind you that Donald Trump was Jeffrey Epstein's best friend for 25 years. 5 years after he said he didn't talk to him anymore. I'm sorry I have to bring that up, but it's the only thing I can do until they release the Epstein files. Not gonna do that.